Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 2 of the anime series, Rokka no Yuusha. And again, this was a really just pitch-perfect episode for me, much like the first. I really love delving into this world and the relationship, the rapport that is unfolding between Adlet Meyer, of course, and Nashitenia, the princess. They are both now braves of the Six Flowers, and they're going to meet up with the rest of them. And I love that their journey, basically we find that Nashitenia feels Adlet is someone she can actually let her hair down around. She feels like she can be open with him. Unlike most other people she is surrounded by, and we find a little bit more out about the sort of mechanics of the kingdom and how because there was a civil war and basically her father, the king, came under fire for that. They've sent away the rest of her family, and they're keeping her family estranged at arm's length so that they won't risk this happening again. And she kind of suffers for it because I guess she's under the watchful eye of all of the kingdom, the protectorate and everything. And she doesn't have anyone she can sort of talk to communally. And we saw hints of this in the first episode when she visits Adlet in the cell and everything like that, and she's chomping at the bit to go and rescue him by the end of that episode when he's been down in the pit and everything, and he has now become transformed as one of these braves of the Six Flowers. And so we find that, she's also very much not sort of used to social conventions, in that she thinks it's perfectly acceptable to go and steal like farmers' goods and everything. She steals lemons, she steals carrots, and you have Adlet paying the people for them, and they're all just kind of dumbstruck, like, what was that? And it's just hilarious to me. And then she also is boasting her prowess as one of these saints. We see her slicing and dicing not only the carrot but the lemon as well, and she's just really getting carried away with the moment and the freedom she now feels, even going so far as to sort of test Adlet's mettle, start chasing him around with this sort of blade cast that she has, this ability she has, and he gets kind of sore at her for it. And then she's like feigning, being very upset by this and down about it. And, oh, I've overstepped my bounds. I got carried away. And then she's sort of mocking him like, oh, did you think I was really going to get that upset about it? This only peeves him even more. And they run into a bunch of people who are sort of trying to get out of the area because of the whole, promise of the demon king or demon god, whatever it is, taking over the land, and fiends are now running rampant. I like that they're called fiends in this series because it once again calls back on that sort of very RPG sort of presence on my mind that this series embodies thus far. The music is very melodious and calming, and it keeps you at a sort of calm with the beauty of the background animation and the character designs, as I was touching upon in my episode 1, first impressions video. It sort of harkened back. I think the first thing that I called back to was like a Final Fantasy game, one of the games in that series, but more so in this episode did I start to pick up on it. Very much heavily reminded me another Square Enix RPG game, but Dragon Quest VIII. The looks of the characters, the names of the characters, and the music, and that calm sort of vibe when you're traveling the world map, that is heavily what this series embodies for me visually, and just the essence of it. And then of course, you basically see that Adlet is the take charge kind of guy who's running first and telling Nashitenia, just be ready to take them out. I'm gonna distract them, I'm gonna keep them occupied, keep them busy. And they're working as a team. Very soon after just being first encountering each other, they are becoming very fluid and understanding, and we're basically seeing, because Adlet has taken the lead, Nashitenia, though she is a saint and though she has this incredible ability, these incredible powers, she still, is not used to fighting and using them in a fight. So to have him taking command and sort of, I like the reference to, once again, calling back on the RPG aesthetic, keeping her in the background, keeping her in back of the party or the battle arrangement, it just really is, ever present in my mind that this is very much kind of an RPG feel. These characters are coming together, and the first two have started the journey, but then we will meet more along the lines, and they're all supposed to be part of this group that will come together. And there's this whole sort of B-level story going on where, we're talking about and very worried about brave killers. These are, basically there have been murders of braves previous, in answer to which do we find out, basically Nashtania's own personal guard, a character who is said to be a couple of years younger than both she and Adlet. I believe they say they're 18 in this episode, and he is only 16 years of age, but he's very, very strong according to Nashtania. This character, Goldov Aurora, and he has been gone for 6 months investigating this whole scenario of braves going either missing or having been murdered, and he's trying to track down who is responsible. The last message they got, according to Nashtania, was like 6 weeks previous, and she and Adlet have been traveling for 10 days by the time the episode ends. But it's very interesting that she notes they have heard nothing since from Goldov, and the brave killer might have caught up with him and taken him out, that kind of scenario. And of course Nashtania really strongly believes, because of how much prowess and strength she feels Goldov has, she believes that per his promise to her, because there was a matchup where they were fighting, sort of like what we saw the tournament in the previous episode, where she was able to take him down. She beat him, but she felt that he sort of feigned, weakness or let her win kind of scenario, and save face for her benefit. And she really was peeved by that, and so they made a promise that one day, when this investigation, whatever, was over, they'd come back together and they'd spar again, and this time he wouldn't hold back or whatever it is. And so because of this promise, she truly believes that he's still out there somewhere. And of course, we see that, this whole fiend attack is interrupted by the knowledge, once it's actually culminated, I should say, by the knowledge that there was someone left behind in the town that came under attack. And it's very suspicious from right off the bat, because in a few scenes you can actually see someone seemingly decked out in black from afar, looking down from a hilltop. And I suspected this was probably going to be one of the next braves that, Adlet and Nashtania would end up stumbling onto. And there's some talk about, we really have to be concerned about the job at hand, getting together with the other braves and going after the demon god, by Nashtania, of course. And you have Adlet very much living up to that personal call of still, as he says several times in the episode, being the strongest man in the world. To him, it's almost like he reminds me of Peter Parker, weighing the balance of saving Aunt May and going and fighting the Vulture, It's one of those things where he feels like he's got to be able to do both. He's got to be able to be in two places at once, take down the enemy, the villain, as well as save his aunt and everything. And we kind of have that with Adlet, where he's like, look, if I'm the strongest man in the world, talking to himself, I got to do both. I got to save this girl who was left behind, and I got to be able to defeat the demon god, whether with the other braves or not. And so he just charges off on horseback, and I was absolutely captivated and compelled by this character, because as soon as she debuts on the scene, the first thing she's doing is saving the life of a puppy and what I assume to be like the mother dog, letting them free. And she basically communicates with them, or at least she's talking to them, and I don't know if she's actually getting through, if she can communicate with animals or whatever, if that's part of her abilities. But she tells them, fiends will only attack humans, you're safe, live in peace, and they run off. So she's doing something benevolent, but of course she's got that rifle, and she turns it right around as soon as she realizes and senses Adlet's on the scene. And in that moment, she kind of reminded me of like a hybrid of Rei Ayanami from Evangelion and Chaika Trabant from Chaika the Coffin Princess. And the look, the eye patch, the sort of design of the costume, and you can kind of tell with the prowess she is wielding, just her sort of personal courage, or whatever you want to call it. The vibe you're getting off her is very much, I'm one of the braves. I have this power. Adlet is very much trying to approach her cautiously because she has that rifle drawn. And the dialogue would seem to hint at maybe somebody, is after her, or has been after her, or maybe she's run into braves in the past that weren't necessarily as benevolent. Maybe they were cutthroat, maybe they were mind-bent and, went on the attack or something like that. But she seems to be recoiling and, putting up that gun for fear of her life. Like she's doing it in self-defense. It doesn't seem as though she's a murderer. And this is interposed with a scene calling back on Nashitania, who has taken out some more fiends on her own, seemingly. But then she is sort of interrupted by, here comes Goldolf riding up on horseback, and he says he gave her an assist or whatever like that. It's a sort of welcome reunion, although you see that Nashitania is kind of like semi put off by how much, you know, a chip on his shoulder this guy has, maybe. She's not all that impressed by the fact that he wants to protect her and he'll lay his life down for her. Especially we find that he is one of the Braves as well. So this makes 4 of them now debut to us in this series. And, you know, she's basically feeling, well, naturally, if with my own strength I become one of them, naturally you being my guard, my, you know, sort of bodyguard, that kind of thing, well, naturally, you would probably have to be chosen as well. She seems a little bit peeved by that. She has to go to that length of saying, well, look, now that we're both Braves, we're going to be mutually trying to save each other and protect each other and whatever. Trying to get that point across. You know, don't baby me, in other words. And through his words, we find, and I love this cliffhanger because it thoroughly throws a wrench in the works. Who can you trust? It's all up for grabs because he says he found out the countenance, the appearance of this brave killer, and the name. And who else could it be but Fremi Speeddraw? You know, this character just face-to-face with Adlet with that rifle ready to pull the trigger. And it's like, oh yes, this is so tantalizing. I can't wait to see how this is going to unfold because you have that air of mystery. It's like the idea of these characters coming together, it's not going to be all smooth sailing. You know, it's not going to be, hey, we're all here to just kill the, you know, demon god or whatever it is, and we're going to go on a merry way. We're all going to work to this without a problem. Now you're calling into question, well, what is going on? Who's been killing Braves? Why has, if it is indeed Fremi, why has she been? As I say, she's kind of recoiling as though she's afraid to be approached by a Brave, a fellow Brave. And Adlet's making the point, well, we're fellow Braves, we should trust each other and we should be okay with each other. We should be simpatico. And she's, you know, angling up that rifle like, no, that's the way it's supposed to be. But are you here to kill me? Are you really going to, like, you know, as soon as I turn my back, stick a shiv in my neck or something, you know? And so it begs the question, could this be the doings of the demon god? Could this be the doings of former Braves or something like that, who want to reclaim their glory? Because there is a story that Nashitania passes off to Adlet about one who was so powerful, penultimately powerful, she could call down rays of heat from the sky, and she effectively raised an entire city. So is somebody trying to, you know, put a stop to these Braves coming into being? Or is it something like they're turning on each other for ultimate power? Has the demon god maybe seduced people over to his side, the side of evil, the dark side, whatever you want to call it? And it's going to be very interesting as soon as we get into the next episode to see how Goldolf reacts when debuted to Fremi and Adlet and Nashitania being sort of dueling sides as well. Oh man, it could just go any which way. That is so exciting getting into this episode. And so yeah, otherwise that's pretty much it on this particular episode. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 2 of Rokka no Yuusha, if you've seen it. And if you're loving the character designs much as I am, the animation, the music, all of these things coming together and just being a magical world from right off the bat. 2 episodes in, and I feel like a part of this world, an extension of this world as a viewer. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this particular episode, if you're enjoying the series or not, and if not, why not? And that'll be pretty much it for me on this, so I'll catch you all later. Peace.